The galaxy believed humanity's silence meant fear. They mistook quiet for weakness and wisdom for surrender. But when Earth finally broke that silence, every star system learned the same lesson. Humans do not issue warnings. Twice dot the Watchers in the Dark, the Galactic Federation had mapped 73% of the known universe when they encountered the anomaly. It was not a black hole or a spatial rift. It was far more puzzling than that. It was silence. Commander Jal of the Arxian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the holographic display before him. His four eyes narrowed as he studied the data. Before him lay a cluster of 47 star systems, each containing signs of advanced civilization. Structures orbited the planets. Ships moved between worlds. Energy signatures indicated thriving populations. Yet when the Federation sent greetings, when they broadcast on every known frequency, when they dispatched envoys with gifts and treaties, they received nothing in return. "How long has it been?" Dial asked his science officer. 32 standard cycles, Commander," replied Velix, a being whose translucent skin rippled with nervous energy. "We have sent 117 different transmissions. We have tried every form of communication in our databases. The silence continues?" Jal's mandibles clicked in frustration. In his 2 centuries of service, he had never encountered a species that simply ignored first contact. Every civilization the Federation had met followed predictable patterns. Some were welcoming, others were hostile. Many were cautious. But all of them responded. Silence was not natural. Silence was insulting. What do we know about them? Jal demanded. Velix brought up additional data. Analysis of their architecture and technology suggests they call themselves humans. Their settlements are efficient, but not aggressive in design. They practice agriculture, manufacturing, and scientific research. Their ships travel at speeds comparable to our own, though we have detected some unusual energy patterns we cannot yet explain. Military capabilities. Unknown, Commander. We have observed no weapons platforms, no military vessels, no defense networks. Either they have none, or they hide them extremely well. Jal considered this. A species with dozens of colonies but no visible military presence seemed impossible. Perhaps these humans were simply naive. Perhaps they had never encountered hostile life before and did not understand the necessity of responding to contact attempts. "Send a delegation," Jal ordered. "Land on their primary world. If they will not talk to us from a distance, we will speak to them face to face." 3 weeks later, a Federation vessel descended toward the human world, designated as New Terra. The ship carried 12 diplomats from 6 different species, all experts in first contact protocols. They had open dialogues with hundreds of civilizations. They knew how to handle every situation from aggressive posturing to cultural misunderstandings. The landing went smoothly. The humans did not fire upon them. They did not scramble defense forces. The delegation touched down in an open field near what appeared to be a population center. The diplomats emerged from their ship wearing their finest ceremonial robes, carrying symbols of peace and friendship. A group of humans approached. They were bipedal creatures, smaller than most Federation species, with soft skin and minimal natural armor. They appeared vulnerable, almost fragile. The lead human, a female with dark hair tied behind her head, stopped a respectful distance away. "Welcome to New Terra," she said in perfect galactic standard, the common language of the Federation. "We know why you have come. Please follow us." The diplomats exchanged glances. The humans spoke their language flawlessly, yet they had never transmitted language files. How did she learn it? The head diplomat, Ambassador Thren, stepped forward. "We represent the Galactic Federation," he began. "We have been attempting to establish communication for many cycles. Your people have not responded. We wish to open diplomatic relations, to exchange knowledge, to welcome humanity into the galactic community." The human woman smiled, but there was something sad in her expression. "We know what you wish. We have been receiving your messages. Come, Let us talk in more comfortable surroundings. They were led to a building near the edge of the settlement. It was constructed of natural materials, wood and stone, giving it a primitive appearance. But as they entered, the diplomats noticed subtle details. The materials were reinforced with something invisible. The walls contained embedded technology far more sophisticated than it appeared. This was not a primitive structure disguised as advanced. It was advanced technology disguised as primitive got inside. They were offered seats around a circular table. Food and drink were provided, carefully selected to be compatible with each species' biology. Again, this should have been impossible. How did the humans know their dietary requirements when no information had been? My name is Sarah Shen, the human woman said as everyone settled. I am what my people call a contact representative. I speak for humanity and matters concerning other species. Then why have you ignored our communications? Ambassador Thren asked. The Federation has been trying to reach your people for a long time. Sarah folded her hands on the table. We have not been ignoring you, Ambassador. We have been watching you. For the past 70 standard cycles, since before you encountered our space, we have been observing the Galactic Federation. We have studied your civilizations, your cultures, your histories. We have learned your languages, your technologies, your customs. We know you quite well, actually. Silence fell over the room. 70 cycles meant the humans had been watching long before the Federation even knew they existed. How is that possible? You seem surprised, Sarah continued. You wonder how we could observe you without your knowledge. The answer is simple. We are very good at remaining unseen when we choose to be. Velix, the science officer who had accompanied the delegation, could not contain his curiosity. But your technology, our analysis suggests you are decades behind Federation standards. How could you possibly conduct surveillance across dozens of systems without detection? Sarah's smile grew wider, but it still carried that inexplicable sadness. Your analysis is based on what we allow you to see, Officer Velix. You observe our settlements and conclude we are primitive. You scan our ships and measure their capabilities. You assess our energy output and make assumptions. But you are looking at shadows, not the substance. She gestured, and the walls of the room transformed. Suddenly, the diplomats were looking at images, thousands of images, flooding past in rapid succession. They saw Federation Council meetings, secret military installations, private conversations between world leaders. They saw treaty negotiations that were supposed to be confidential. They saw weapons developments that were classified at the highest levels. They saw everything. For 70 cycles we have watched, Sarah said quietly. We have seen how the Federation treats species who are weaker than themselves. We have the Arxian Empire's expansion methods. We have documented the slavery that still exists in the Thorian sectors, despite being officially outlawed. We have recorded the 12 species that were driven to extinction because they possess resources more valuable than their lives. The images continued to pour forth, each one a damning piece of evidence. Ambassador Thren felt his blood run cold. The humans had seen everything. Every dirty secret, every hidden crime, every moment of shame that the Federation had tried to bury. We watched, Sarah continued, because we needed to understand who you were before we decided how to respond to your contact attempts. We needed to know if the Galactic Federation was an organization we wanted to join, if it represented values we could respect. And what did you conclude? Jal asked. He had accompanied the delegation specifically because he suspected something unusual about these humans. Now his worst fears were being confirmed. Sarah met his eyes directly. We concluded that you are not ready for humanity. Not yet, perhaps not ever. You are a civilization built on conquest and exploitation. You measure worth by military strength and resource extraction. You preach peace while practicing oppression. You are, in many ways, exactly what we feared we would find among the stars. The room fell completely silent. No one moved. No one breathed. The diplomatic mission had become something else entirely. So we chose silence, Sarah said. Not because we were afraid, Not because we lacked the means to communicate, but because we were giving you time. Time to grow, time to change, time to become something better than what you were. She stood slowly, but recently something happened that changed our perspective. The Arxian Empire has been making plans to forcibly occupy human territories, plans to take what you believe we cannot defend. Commander Zhao here was selected to lead that operation. Every eye turned to Zhao. The Arxian commander's exoskeleton darkened with embarrassment and rage. Those plans were supposed to be absolutely secret, discussed only in the most secure facilities. You spied on us, he hissed. We observed you, Sarah corrected. And what we observed convinced us that silence was no longer sufficient. You were about to make a terrible mistake, Commander. One that would have cost billions of lives and shattered any hope of future cooperation. She gestured again, and the images changed. Now they showed massive fleets, thousands upon thousands of vessels, arranged in formations around distant stars. The ships were unlike anything in Federation databases. Their design was elegant and efficient, built with technology that made current Federation vessels look like ancient relics. This is the Human Defense Initiative, Sarah explained. These ships have been ready for 40 cycles, waiting in deep space. We built them not for conquest, but for protection. We hoped we would never need to use them. But we built them anyway because we learned long ago that hope is not a strategy. Ambassador Thren found his voice. How many ships? Approximately 400,000 in active service. Another 600,000 in reserve. We can mobilize the full fleet in less than 3 days. The numbers were impossible. The resources required to build such a fleet would dwarf the entire Federation's military capacity. How could a species confined to 47 systems possibly construct something so massive? You are wondering how, Sarah said, reading their expressions. That is the difference between us, Ambassador. The Federation builds to conquer. Humanity builds to protect. You spread yourselves thin across thousands of worlds, always reaching for more. We concentrated our resources, developed our technology, and prepared for the day when silence would no longer be enough. She walked to the window and looked out at the settlement beyond. You came here for answers, Ambassador Thren. You came to force contact with a species you believed was weak and primitive. Instead, you have discovered that humanity has been watching you all along. That we know your secrets? That we possess capabilities you never suspected? Sarah turned back to face them. Now you must return to your Federation with a message. Tell them that humanity is not interested in joining their organization. Tell them that any attempt to force us will be met with resistance they cannot overcome. Tell them that we will continue to watch and that we will hold them accountable for their actions. And if they do not listen, Zhao asked. Sarah's expression grew hard. Then you will discover why we chose to remain silent for so long. Not because we were weak, but because we were merciful. The reckoning, the delegation returned to Federation space with Sarah Chen's message. Commander Zhao delivered his report to the High Council, a gathering of the most powerful leaders in the known galaxy. They sat in their towering thrones, representatives of species that had conquered star systems and subjugated entire civilizations. They listened to Zhao's account with expressions ranging from disbelief to outrage. When he finished, High Counselor Draven of the Arxian Empire rose to his full height. His armored body gleamed under the chamber's lights, a testament to centuries of military dominance. His voice boomed through the hall. These humans dare to threaten the Federation? They claim to possess 1 million warships hidden in deep space. This is obvious deception. They are bluffing, hoping to frighten us into leaving them alone. No species could build such a fleet without our knowledge. It is impossible. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the council. Ambassador Thren stepped forward hesitantly. High Counselor, with respect, I do not believe they were bluffing. The technology we observed on their world was far beyond what we initially assessed. The intelligence they possessed about our operations was comprehensive and deeply classified. These humans have capabilities we do not understand. Draven's eyes flashed with anger. What I understand, Ambassador, is that a minor species with fewer than 50 worlds is attempting to dictate terms to a federation of 10,000 civilizations. This cannot be tolerated. If we allow humanity to defy us, others will follow. Our authority will crumble. Counselor Mervex of the Thorian Collective spoke next. She was an ancient being, her crystalline form pulsing with slow, deliberate light. Perhaps we should consider their request. They wish only to be left alone. We have thousands of other systems to explore and colonize. Why must we force contact with a species that clearly does not want it? Because they are hiding something, Draven snapped. No one refuses Federation membership without reason. They possess resources or technology they do not want to share. It is our right and our duty to bring all civilizations under the banner of galactic unity, by force if necessary. The debate raged for hours. Some counselors urged caution. Others demanded immediate action. In the end, Draven's faction won the vote. The decision was made. The Federation would demonstrate its power. The humans would learn that defiance had consequences. 3 Federation battle groups were assembled. Each contained 5,000 warships, representing the military might of dozens of member species. 15,000 vessels in total, the largest fleet mobilized in 2 centuries. They would jump into human space simultaneously, surrounding multiple colonies. The humans would have no choice but to surrender or face annihilation. Commander Jal was given command of the operation despite his reservations. He had served the Federation his entire life. He believed in its mission to unite the galaxy under a single banner of peace and cooperation. But something about the humans troubled him deeply. Sarah Chen's eyes had held no fear, only certainty. And her warning had sounded less like a threat and more like a prophecy. The fleet assembled at the edge of human territory. Jal stood on his flagship's bridge, watching the countdown to jump coordinates. Around him, his crew moved with practiced efficiency. They were veterans of a dozen conflicts. They had conquered worlds and broken empires. This should have been a routine operation. All ships report ready, Commander, his tactical officer announced. Jal took a deep breath. Execute jump on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Space twisted. 15,000 ships vanished from Federation space and reappeared in the human system designated as New Terra. They emerged in perfect formation. Weapons charged, shields raised. It was an overwhelming display of force designed to shock and intimidate. For a moment, there was silence. The human colony below continued its daily activities as if nothing had happened. No alarm sounded. No defense platforms activated. No ships scrambled to intercept. Then the stars changed. It happened so quickly that Jal's sensors could barely track the movement. One moment the space around his fleet was empty. The next moment it was full. Ships materialized from nowhere, hundreds of thousands of them, surrounding the Federation fleet in a sphere so vast it defied comprehension. They were not emerging from jump drives. They were not uncloaking. They were simply appearing, as if they had been there all along and had suddenly decided to be seen. Jal's tactical display screamed warnings. His sensors were overwhelmed trying to count the contacts. His weapons officers stared at their screens in shock. The numbers were impossible. 400,000 human vessels, just as Sarah Chen had promised. But it was not the numbers that made Jal's blood run cold. It was the design. Each human ship was sleek and elegant, built with technology that made Federation vessels look crude by comparison. They moved with a grace that suggested perfect control, perfect coordination. They were not a military fleet hastily assembled. They were a precision instrument that had been waiting patiently for this exact moment. Open a channel, Jal ordered. His voice barely steady. Before his communications officer could respond, every screen on every ship in the Federation fleet activated simultaneously. Sarah Chen's face appeared, calm and composed. Commander Jal, she said, we warned you. We gave the Federation every opportunity to accept our desire for isolation. Instead, you chose intimidation. You chose force. You chose to bring 15,000 warships to our home as a demonstration of power. She paused, and her expression grew sad. You should have listened. Jal found his voice. We came to negotiate, to demonstrate the futility of resistance. Humanity cannot stand against the entire Federation. Surrender now, and no harm will come to your people. Sarah's smile was gentle, almost pitying. Commander, you still do not understand. We are not the ones in danger here. Look at your tactical display. Count the vessels surrounding you. Calculate the power differential. Then ask yourself who should be discussing surrender. Jal looked at his screens. 400,000 human ships versus 15,000 Federation vessels. The mathematics were brutal. But numbers were not everything. The Federation had centuries of combat experience. Their weapons had been tested in countless wars. Their tactics had conquered galaxies. We have faced greater odds, Yael said with more confidence than he felt. No, Sarah replied softly. You have never faced anything like us. Because we are not conquerors, Commander Jal, we do not seek dominion over others. We do not measure our worth by how many worlds we control. We built this fleet for one purpose only, to protect what is ours, and we have had 70 cycles to prepare for this day. She gestured, and the tactical displays changed. Now they showed detailed schematics of every Federation ship in the fleet, internal layouts, weapon systems, shield frequencies, reactor configurations, everything. We know every vessel in your armada, Sarah continued. We know their strengths and weaknesses. We know their power output, their maximum range, their crew complement. We have studied Federation military doctrine for decades. We know how you fight, how you think, how you make decisions under pressure. You have no secrets from us, Commander. No advantages. No surprises. Jal felt fear for the first time in his long military career. This was not a battle. This was an execution waiting to happen. What do you want? He asked. We want you to leave, Sarah said simply. Take your fleet. Return to Federation space. Tell your High Council that humanity will not be conquered. Tell them that we will defend ourselves with every resource at our disposal. Tell them that the next time they enter our territory with hostile intent, we will not be so merciful. Jal looked at the overwhelming force surrounding him. You call this mercy? Yes, Sarah said, and her voice carried absolute conviction. Because despite everything the Federation has done, despite the species you have enslaved, despite the worlds you have burned, despite the lies you have told about peace and unity while practicing conquest and oppression, we are still giving you a chance to walk away. That is mercy, Commander. Perhaps the last mercy you will ever receive from humanity. She leaned forward. But understand this. If you choose to fight, if you fire a single weapon, if you harm a single human life, then mercy ends. We will dismantle your fleet so quickly you will not have time to send a distress signal. We will do it without anger, without hatred, without passion. We will do it simply because it must be done. Because we have learned that sometimes protection requires elimination. The transmission ended. Sarah's face vanished from the screens. The human fleet remained in perfect formation, waiting, silent, patient. Jal looked around his bridge. His crew was waiting for orders. Some looked defiant. Others looked terrified. All of them looked to him for leadership. He thought about his long career, the battles he had won, the worlds he had conquered, the enemies he had defeated. He thought about the Federation's glory, its power, its absolute certainty that might be right. Then he thought about Sarah Chen's eyes, the sadness there, the patience, the warning that sounded like truth. Signal the fleet, Jal said quietly. We are withdrawing. Set course for Federation space. Maximum speed. His tactical officer gasped. Commander, we cannot retreat. The Council will see this as cowardice. We will be dishonored. Jal turned to face him. Better dishonored than dead. Give the order, now. The Federation fleet began to withdraw. Slowly at first, then faster as the reality of their situation became clear. 15,000 warships turned and fled from human space, pursued by nothing except their own fear. The human fleet did not follow. They simply watched as the invaders departed, their formation never breaking, their weapons never firing. When the last Federation vessel had jumped away, the human ships vanished as mysteriously as they had appeared, returning to whatever hidden depths had concealed them. Joel's journey back to Federation space was the longest of his life. When he arrived, he delivered his report to a shocked High Council. He told them everything. The overwhelming numbers, the superior technology, the perfect intelligence, the mercy that had saved 15,000 ships and their crews. High Counselor Draven was furious. You retreated without firing a shot. You abandoned the operation. You disgraced the Federation. I saved 15,000 ships and their crews from certain destruction, Zhao replied calmly. The humans were not bluffing. They possess capabilities that exceed our own by orders of magnitude. If we had engaged them, none of us would have returned to deliver this warning. Warning? Draven's voice dripped with contempt. What warning? That the age of Federation dominance is over, Zhao said. Humanity represents a power we cannot defeat, cannot intimidate, cannot coerce. They have been watching us for decades, judging us and finding us wanting. We have one choice remaining. Learn to coexist peacefully with them, or face consequences we cannot survive. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some demanded immediate retaliation. Others called for caution. A few suggested reaching out to other species for alliance against this new threat. But Counselor Mervex, the ancient crystalline being, rose slowly. Her voice cut through the chaos like light through darkness. Perhaps, she said quietly, we should ask ourselves why humanity has such overwhelming force yet chooses not to use it for conquest. Perhaps we should question why they offer mercy to those who came to threaten them. Perhaps we should wonder what they see when they look at the Federation that makes them choose isolation over membership. She turned to address the full council. We have spent millennia building an empire based on strength and domination. We have measured civilization by military capacity and resource extraction. We have crushed the weak and exploited the vulnerable. And now we have encountered a species more powerful than ourselves that chooses a different path. Her light pulsed slowly. Maybe the humans are not the ones who need to change. Maybe we are. Silence fell over the chamber. For the first time in Federation history, the mighty were forced to confront an uncomfortable truth. They were not the apex predators of the galaxy. They never had been. Humanity had been watching them all along, waiting to see if they would evolve beyond violence and cruelty. The Federation had failed that test. But humanity, in their infinite patience, had given them another chance. A chance to learn, a chance to grow, a chance to become worthy of the stars they claimed to rule Dot in the years that followed. Things changed slowly. The Federation began reviewing its policies. Species that had been oppressed found their voices heard for the first time. Slavery was not just outlawed, but actually enforced. Conquest gave way gradually to cooperation, and humanity continued to watch from their quiet corner of space. Still silent, still patient, still hoping that the galaxy would finally become what it had always claimed to be, a place of peace, unity, and genuine cooperation among the stars.